Frankfort Independent Schools, on the cutting edge since 1868. From modern typewriters in 1900 to the latest tools in 1920 to flight simulators in 1944 to today's technology-infused classrooms. Elementary and middle school students are learning coding to robotics. For the past several years, Frankfort High students have essentially been the tech department for the building. FHS students have access to the latest 3D printers and engineering software. There's a full-service photo studio and TV studio on campus with several cameras and editing equipment available for student use. Students have even created their own network.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Panther Entertainment.
Frankfort Independent, preparing students today for tomorrow's world.
Welcome to 2020 from here in the Frankfort Independent School, 2nd Street School. I'm David Couch with the Department of Education. We have a monthly webcast for all of our CIOs and EdTech leaders. Trying to figure out how to reduce the echo here on the, I guess, on the TV. Okay, yeah. But we'll move on with it. That's just a minor distraction. So thank you for joining us today. I'm joined here with the Frankfort Independent staff and folks here with the Department of Education, which I appreciate everyone joining us here today. I sent out earlier this morning the list of our agenda along with the master plan, a condensed version of the master plan, our infographic, so hopefully you had a chance to look at that, and we'll briefly go over that. But I do want to let our host district introduce themselves, and then I'll introduce folks here with the Department of Education. Thank you for hosting today, Superintendent Barber. I appreciate it. And I'd like for you to give an overview of the district and some of the members that you have here with you.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity to host. And you know, here we are in Frankfort Independent Schools. We are a district that is a very community-driven district, and very excited about the fact that we are technology-driven, but we're also focused on each and every child. And so one of the things that we drive home is our 3-to-1 approach, which is focused on social and emotional needs of our students, academic behavioral needs, and then access to opportunity. And that is something we believe in here in Frankfort Independent Schools. And we have been working on our 1-to-1 technology for quite some time, but more importantly about the individualized and personalized approaches with our families and our students. Just want to mention today, we're focused on a world-class education and connected community school, but we're also focused on enhanced human capital performance and 21st century technology and facilities, but as well as efficient and effective operations. And finally, safe and secure facilities. With me today, I have several of my teammates and also in the crowd, and I'll introduce briefly. Jonathan Jones is our Director of Technology. Welcome, Jonathan. Miss Arlene Crabtree is also one of our directors in technology as well. Welcome. And we have with us two board members in the crowd, our board chair, Miss Gina Greathouse, and we also have Miss Tasha Box-Jones, who's with us. Finally, our host principal here is today with us, Miss Sam Sams. If you please stand, just want to welcome her, and so thankful for her. She's done such a great job. She's been here the last several years, but as principal is her first year. So just want to welcome you to the district. I know there'll be more about Frankfort Independent Schools in a bit, but appreciate the opportunity to host.
Yeah, thank you. Next up, I'm going to have Intercommissioner Kevin Brown have some opening words. You know, Kevin, this is the 30th year of CARA, the 28th year of the Continuing Education Technology System, KETS. And so I know that's high on our radar screen to recognize the progress we've made. Still got work to do, but the progress we've made. But I'd just like you to make some opening comments.
Sure. Thank you, David. I would like to point out that when I was named interim commissioner several weeks ago, the first text message that I received was from David Couch. And the text message was so long that it locked up my phone, which most of you that know David, that's typical David Couch text message. And then he will follow that up with a audio message. But the text message had several asks in it, and one of the asks was for me to attend this today, which I'm honored to do. I remember where I was, as many of you do, when the Reform Act was passed in 1990, and how my dad was in the room with me, and he made a comment. He said, "Son, this is going to change education forever in Kentucky." I was still a student at that time, and little did I know that I would be sitting here one day. But David's text message is actually an example of what started in 1990, in that David is, I think, the only original leadership team member still with the department from that time. And if you are a former commissioner, there's kind of an unwritten rule that when you're in trouble with the General Assembly, you take David with you. If you're going into an unpopular environment, you start talking about technology. And while we have done a lot of good things in all areas since 1990, one of the things that we have done well, and we are a model for the country, is technology. And it's because of the consistency. It's because David and his team, many of his team members have been here almost as long as David has been here. That consistency, the fact that during times of budget reductions, the technology team has been able to do more with less, be able to be nimble. If you go to any of your national groups, and for many years I was the general counsel at KDE, so I would interact with other attorneys from other states, and they would bring up in our national meetings all these problems they were having with technology, or how do we figure this out? And you know, the response from us from Kentucky, well, we figured that out 10 years ago, or we're doing this. And that's all because of the leadership here. That's because CARA kicked that off. It's because we've had dedicated folks here doing this day in, day out, being consistent, interacting with the General Assembly, interacting with the public, and doing things like this. The webcast every month for school districts is just crucial. It's something that is a model for states around the country, and I don't think that it's duplicated in any state to this level. So I'm honored to be here. I've been a beneficiary of it, both as a student, as a citizen, and as an employee of the department, and also as an employee in a school district. I know how important this is. So again, thank you for having me, and I look forward to being with you for the next hour or so.
Thanks, Kevin. And I'll refrain from sending you text messages in today, all right?
Just why isn't a webcast?
You know, when you do something like this, we've sent out the KETS timeline from 1992 to 2019, and I always tell folks we're like an old rock band that's remained relevant over the years, and sometimes you don't know they've sung a couple songs and you go to their concert and you realize they don't have 1 or 2 songs, they know they have 15 or 20. And I consider that in that capacity. If you take a look at that timeline, the historical things we've done since 1992 are quite amazing and consistent over many decades. When I say we have done it, it's not the Department of Education, it's with all these partners that we've had over the course of time going in the common direction. And that's the way you do with teams. You know, it starts, Kevin, with the Education Reform Act, with the legislators throughout the course of time being very supportive of what we're doing in education, and then technology especially. So we definitely have benefited from that from a very long time. Of course, I mentioned the schools and districts. The talented people we've had over the course of time that's helped us achieve very special things. The education commissioners that we've had and the boards being very supportive of technology consistently really since 1992, but also our educational cooperative partners. I know we have Terry Stice here. Where's Terry at? I know she's here somewhere. Yeah, there's Terry from GREC, but we have lots of others with our cooperatives that have been very supportive of what we've done for a very long time. We've also had our vendor partners, and Tim Cornett, he's here, and he was a former part of our staff and has gone on to do really good and helpful things with Microsoft, but also our agency partners that we have out there. Longtime School Facility Construction Commission when we first started, and we have Bob Tarvin that's here. So Bob, thank you for your support throughout the years with school facilities. KET, I think we have KET here. His daughter, Tanya, is here with KET, but a great partner for us over the years. Kate of Murray State and University of Kentucky's Next Generation Leadership. I know we have Lou Young from here, and Jerry Swan. Is he on his way? Oh, there he is. Hey, Jerry. So thank you for your long-term support. We've had other KD offices that have supported us over the course of the year, but definitely our OET staff members. And I did want to take a time here. I've never done this on a webcast before, where I recognize the staff members. I always kid folks, it really is the players. I mean, the coach, you try to put them in the right spot, in the right positions, and sometimes the players can overcome the coach. And I would say a lot of years the players have overcome the head coach, and that would be me. And I wanted to identify 3 groups of folks that we have within Office of Education Technology. And as Kevin mentioned, the amount of retention that we have in the Office of Education Technology is phenomenal. I get to work with the other 49 Department of Education. There is nobody close to Kentucky as far as the talent, the top talent that we've had and have stayed with us for so long, and the percentages and the number of people. And I'm so appreciative of those. And I wanted to briefly spend just a little time recognizing some of the folks in the 3 different categories. So, Andy, if you could show the slide, number 4 first. These are folks that have been with us less than 10 years, but look at the wealth of experience that they brought to us. And our staff is filled with people that former teachers, former principals, former coaches, former leaders, former folks in state government that bring a tremendous wealth of experience to our organization, which we have greatly benefited from. So I just want to give folks, just a quick, watching our webcast, a chance to look at those names. Some of those and some of those you don't. We have behind the scenes people doing great things, and I always want to recognize those folks that are behind the scenes that have helped us do great things. So, some of these names you'll recognize. They're more public facing, like Jeff Cebulski. You'll definitely recognize him from STLP. But you can see Jeff had a lot of time as a classroom teacher and leader before he came to Department of Education. I do want to recognize Senator Gibbons. He's another. I recognized the legislature earlier. Definitely been one of our huge supporters for a long time. Good to see you here. Thanks for joining us. So those are the folks that have been with us for less than 10 years. The next group of folks is in the category 5. They've been here for us with 10 to 13 years. So you can bring that listing up. And you can see this is a good wealth of, folks, but you see some of these folks had tons of experience too before they came to Office of Education Technology. You see in the 20 years and 17 years, a lot of those are in the educational world of trying to help education in some way. And I have the benefit of getting to work with these folks on a daily basis. As I was saying, these folks do a good job of overcoming their head coach, me, but hopefully I put them in a position to be successful. And that's what I've tried to do over the course of years, of trying to put them in a position to be successful in supporting school districts, but also we have the mission of supporting Katie, the agency staff. And so much like school districts are where the district office staff supports both the district office and school, we do the same thing in Office of Education Technology for the Department of Education. So these are some really outstanding individuals, and I just want you to see there. And some of those and some of those are behind the scenes, are just outstanding. But I wanted to give high fives to our staff that you see there. Let's go on to the next group. These are folks that have been with us for 14 to 29 years. And you can see the amount of years they have there, and they even had more than that on top, on top of that. Look at Charlotte Chowning, 26 years as a teacher, and all these years with us. That's amazing service to the students. I always tell folks, and please leave that up as I'm speaking here. As most folks know, I'm a former military officer, and I'm always appreciative of folks say thank you for your service to the country, but also no one's ever thanked me for my service to the state. And so I thank these people for their service to the state. I mean, look at the amount of years that these folks have put in. And most of these are servicing our schools, for a very long time. And as I say, these folks have put up with me for 14 to 29 years. So they should get special high fives in doing that right there. I'd like to show a pic of something in my office. You can show that, number 6. This is, if you walk into my office, this is what it somewhat looks like. Well, the folks here can't see it. Up on that mantle is one of my relatives was the very first school superintendent of an Eastern Kentucky county, and he looks like a cowboy in that picture. Probably were some pretty rough folks during that time. You'll see a Johnny West kind of character that I had as a kid to always remind me to keep focused on kids and my basket, my hoop basket, which I'm pretty successful in making some shots there. But it's the next one I would like to show you. If you zoom in on that, number 6, yeah. So this is a quote by Steve Jobs. I really believe in a small team of A+ players can run circles around a giant team of B and C players. And I really, really believe that. Now as a coach, I'm always trying to create as many A+ players on our staff, but a lot of times the A+, it's in your heart. You have that drive and that commitment to do something pretty special. For those that are pretty A+, so I'm appreciative of all of our staff, but those are, we have some really A+ players. The next one I'd like to show is number 8. This is a picture of Bill Stillwell, and I know his wife Doris, I don't think she's here yet, was going to try to make it here today. So Bill is also one of those folks that went above and beyond the call of duty. He created a listserv service way back in the 90s. So all groups of teachers, as we had all the schools connected to the internet, he said, let's have them talking and sharing information. So he created a listserv service of every kind of academic background so those teachers could interact with each other. Virtually no one knew Bill's name, but we knew all the great things that he did behind the scenes. There is a person that I do want to recognize. If you could bring up Terry Orr. We have a special award called the Stillwell Award. I'm going to take my jacket off here. Some others may want to as well. Bill Stillwell wore red suspenders. That's what he's known for. And every year we give an award for someone that goes above and beyond the call of duty and helping make special things happen for our students. Unfortunately, Terry can't be here today. Terry started with us in 2006 and passed away in July. His children are watching, his family are watching remotely. And so, our heartfelt, during that time, this is the award that we give out. And really, this is our Hall of Fame, our KETS Hall of Fame, our Kentucky Education Technology System Hall of Fame. Terry Orr was part, if you take a look at our KETS timeline, and he joined us in 2002. Every major one of those Grand Slam historic hits, Terry Orr was the project manager. He's the MVP of all the project managers that I've ever run into, and it's a mark that I think it'll be difficult for anyone to sustain. But I always want to challenge folks to do that. I would like, if you are a former Stillwell Award winner, I would like for you to come up and stand up here. One of the reasons I want these award winners up here, there is more than one inductee that I'd like for them to help me congratulate. In fact, there's a couple. And if folks know that, what we do with the Stillwell is a total surprise. And so if you could show the next slide. We have 6 other members that get the Stillwell Award today. And they're all in this room, and none of them had an idea that they were getting recognized. You can see Phil Coleman, Dee Dee Connor, Bob Hackworth, Mike Lettingham, John Logan, and Lisa Moore with Terry Orr. Give them a round. So before I have them come up, I want to tell you a little bit about these folks. They need to get an award just for putting up with me this long. They truly do. This is a minimal thing that I'll do. And this is in no particular order. Phil Coleman, if you could pan to Phil. Phil came with us as original KETS engineer in 1993. When he first started this thing and trying to get it deployed out there to all districts, he was our Region 8 Eastern Kentucky KETS engineer. And in 1998, he came to Department of Education and took my position. As I moved up to the CIO position, he became the Chief Technology Officer for Department of Education, and he's been there ever since. Phil, thank you for your incredible service. Next up is Mike Lettingham. Mike was the first project manager that managed our district administrative system implementation in Kentucky. That began in the 1994 timeframe, 93, 94. And let me tell you the historic nature of what Mike did. Kentucky became the first state to have internet to every district office, and was pretty historic. That in itself is pretty amazing, given that you have states that still don't have that done. Mike and his team, and there was a large team, and Mike would tell you that he led, we did that in 11 months. We did it in every county, put an internet link, a high-speed internet link in 11 months, and Mike led that effort along with a lot of the partners that I mentioned earlier. Along with that was the nation's first financial management system in every district office. That never happened before. Mike was part of that, which has turned into Munis, and putting that in place across our state. Also had someone helping him named Robin Wolf Morley. That was a good teammate along with some other folks in our finance organization. But also email. People take for granted email, but Mike's effort led the first time email was in every district office across any state. And some people may regret that now that you were part of that and part of doing that. But Mike then became, after doing that wonderful thing, he was also a KETS engineer in Northeastern Kentucky in Region 7, and did that incredibly well. And I was fortunate enough to recruit him to come up and be the division director of the things that he's in charge of now. One of those is project management, which is obviously the perfect person to be in charge of that, along with some other things. So Mike, thank you for your long, distinguished service. One of the folks, when I first came, as Kevin mentioned, is I'm the last original member of the CARA leadership team. But there was one person there, actually there's two, but there was one person there that I remember when I first came, and it was Lisa Moore. And Lisa's played a variety of positions for us. Lisa's a former teacher. She was working with Joe Kirkman, who was the first associate commissioner there in education and technology. She became one of our assistant directors. And then she's a policy advisor for us now. Does just wonderful things. Lisa, thank you. John Logan. If you looked at the names on that list, he's the top of it. 29 years, getting ready to have 30 here in April timeframe. Tremendous dedication to kids across the state. The thing that stood out to me about John is John was working, I think he was scanning cards in. And John came up to me and says, I think I'm capable of much more and I like the opportunity. And wow. The things that John has done, he was actually our first policy advisor. So he's in a leadership position. And all these folks here that I'm recognizing, to be honest with you, they are more behind the scenes leadership positions. Obviously, Chuck Austin, who's given us tremendous years as well, leadership, more out in the field. I know Marty, you're more out in the field, and making IT happen award, both of those two folks. But these leadership positions have been more behind the scenes for us. And John, besides a policy advisor, all those architectural things, we talked about Terry Orr. John was hand in hand working with Terry Orr all these years. So Terry was the project manager, and John was the architect of technology behind the scenes for us. So all those great things that you saw that Terry was involved with, John was working side by side with them. And so we're so fortunate to have had you, John. Thank you. There's probably no one more diversified on our staff that we've ever had in all these different positions than Bob Hackworth. Bob is a former Kentucky teacher. He was part of Mike's team as one of the original members of the district administrative system that put all those great things out in school districts. He became one of our CATS engineers in Central Kentucky, did that extremely well. Became one of the original members of our virtual high school that we put in place, the original leader of KD's first longitudinal data system, and now he's become our chief security officer. I mean, you talk about a multi-talented individual, it is Bob Packard. Bob, thank you very much. And last but not least is Dee Dee Connor. The things that Dee Dee has gotten involved with us, and KD gives her additional catch years. I told you she gets 15 or 20 of the things that she has taken on. But she established our first data division within the Office of Education Technology, and everything that goes along with establishing that and getting momentum for that, along with setting up the data governance for that. The e-transcripts, once again, I can remember sitting in New York City, and I was at a meeting there, and I opened up the paper, and it talked about e-transcripts that we had done in Kentucky, being the first to really do that. To make a really big connection between what students having with their transcripts and automating it to their universities, which we've done here in Kentucky, and the first to do it to the scale we've done. But also, I think Dee Dee's, you probably get 10 years for your work on the school report card, which, by the way, got an A+ rating when folks took a look at it from the outside, and just your dedication throughout the years. Dee Dee, and it's no surprise to her, she's the daughter of an Army general. So those of us that know Dee Dee, that is no surprise.
Explains it all, right?
that is no surprise. But Dee Dee, thank you for your incredible service, and there's no harder worker that we've ever had than you. Thank you. So I'd just like to do this for our awardees. I would like to come up and get a picture with you, and then we're going to have a picture just awardees, and I'm going to have our former awardees get a picture with the new awardees and kind of congratulate them. So if we can do that, just leave the camera live, but we're going to come up. If the awardees come up, if you can get your plaque, we're going to take a team photo with Kevin and myself. We need someone taking a picture, Mark. just stand right here. We're going to take a picture here. And then we're going to have the former awardees join you behind you.
First or second? Get them photos.
Yeah, we're going to get them first. Can we join us in here?
That's the plan.
We can have our former awardees come up and join us. Yeah, you're in it still. Okay, you guys can come down a step and let them be behind you. Come on down. Come on in, Kevin. Thanks to all our former folks for being here. I was hoping my introduction didn't give away what we're doing. I told Kevin I didn't know if I was be able to make through it without getting very emotional. So the best way I can do things like that is I try to think of when I was really mad at him. Versus just being mad at me, but to make it through there, because I'm truly beholden to these folks. A lot of folks talk about, wow, these awesome things you have done. I said, wait till you meet the people that I've surrounded myself with. And that's true in life, isn't it? It's who you surround yourself with. And I have absolutely surrounded myself with some incredible people. Just to give you the numbers I saw you on there, I think it's close to 150 years of their dedication to our state in K-12, and close to 200 years total to dedication to our state. So those 7 individuals were quite amazing. And so, Kevin, I made it through it.
You did. And I would say, David, as to a person, all the folks you recognized today with the Stillwell Award, over the years as I served as counsel to the department, every one of those individuals, they were in my office at one point or time pushing the envelope to do something, and then they would leave and I would go to talk to other attorneys and say, you're never going to believe what technology OET wants to do now. And that's good. That was a sign that they were pushing us. Anytime you make an attorney uncomfortable, you're basically saying, we want to do something better, we want to do something different. And that's what they've been doing for 30 years.
Yeah.
And the students of Kentucky benefit, even if it made the attorneys uncomfortable. So I want to thank you all for that and pushing the envelope with us as well.
And I know some of the folks, Kevin, I know you have a meeting at 10 that you have to go to, so I appreciate you joining us. There may be some others, Representative Gravis and Senator Givens. I know you have legislative things you got to do, so I'm fine with you guys not being able to stay the whole time. But thanks for everyone for making time, and I appreciate our webcast audience watching this. And so some of the districts that may have a brand new CO say, what in the world was all that? But I did want to take some time to give some high fives to folks that deserve it.
I think all of us want to give high fives to everybody out in the districts, because they make us be able to do our jobs. I mean, because what we do isn't possible without them to support us, and with them getting on board with some of these new ideas that we've got. And we really appreciate everybody else, because for every one of us, there's probably 10 more out there that are just as deserving.
Yeah, I agree. So let's circle back. I appreciate you to let us modify the agenda a little bit, because I had let the district know we're going to change a little bit. So I want to give you a little more time to highlight something in the district that you may want to highlight that we had to kind of cut short to put that in place.
Absolutely. It's always, behind every great leader is a great team. So I think that's a great statement about what's happening in your technology division. First, I do have a special award that I'd like to give. This is the 3rd award that I've ever given out in this particular award. It's called the Transforming Lives Award, and only 2 others have received it. And we give it to people who have made such an impact on the community of Frankfort Independent Schools, but then beyond. And so this person could have an impact from an indirect level. It could be from a direct level. And all I can say is that AT&T put out this commercial in 1993, and if you've ever seen it, you go back in time, they had that there was going to be a smartwatch. There was going to be a vision of internet in homes. There was going to be, and you got to go back and see it because it all came true. The problem is AT&T didn't do it all because a lot of their executives decided, you know what, we're not moving fast enough. They went to different locations. Well, Kentucky's done a lot of that, and so the impact's been just unbelievable on our kids, on our students. And so today's special award, it's called the Transforming Lives Award. It's a special coin, and it goes to David Couch. So.
Rare, I'm speechless. Thank you.
Third recipient.
The honor, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So we recognize the impact that technology has on our fast-moving pace and ever-changing world. Google's trying to dominate the world, we know, with all the analytics that they do, even in driving now, right? Automation they've been trying to do since 2015. It's just interesting that Kentucky is one of the leading states in technology. And we believe that not only have you been a part of that experience and movement, but it's been your team. So thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Barber, that's the first time that David Couch has ever been speaking.
Well, it's a surprise award. Nobody's really supposed to know about it until I give it out. That's the way I do it. So
I'm surprised.
yeah. Frankfort Independent is really fortunate to have a board that is very aggressive on implementing strategies that advance learning. And I want to share this because we have been working hard at personalization. Not to get into a long differentiation about this, but you know, there's standardization, there's customization, and then there's personalization. We've been working hard on the individualized needs of our students and how to meet those needs and demands. So we've provided a lot of access to opportunity via, we have different platforms that we utilize. Summit's one of those platforms, but we've partnered with the University of Kentucky, the Center for Teaching and Learning, focused on something called Profile of the Graduate. Profile of the Graduate is a very focused work that no matter what type of testing accountability comes in from the state, from the federal level, our kids will have the skills necessary to walk out and be prepared for the workforce or for that matter, college and career ready. And so we're very excited to tell you that this profile work is cutting edge. And so we're finding out new metrics that work, analytics that can lead to successful opportunities for kids. And so a kid, here's an example. A kid could be taking Algebra 1 and finish it in 2 weeks. Or they might take them extra long. They might take them more than a year. The point is we want them to grasp the skills necessary and demonstrate them so they can be successful. Also, we're providing intimate pathways that are focused on their passion, our students' passion. It's the most important thing. So we have connected with local CTEs and other CTEs even throughout the region to provide electrician's pathway, to provide other opportunities for our students such as plumbing, carpentry, because our kids have to have that opportunity. If they believe in it and they want a part of it, we want to give them that opportunity. We were one of the first districts, I believe, in the state, and I'm going to say it, but just like David might say it, that we partnered with the city of Frankfort to provide internet in every single home for our kids. That's pretty remarkable that we were able to do that. I'm not saying it hasn't happened, but that opportunity allowed our kids to have access. And the digital divide is serious, and so we have continued to promote that. We've even recently partnered with another company that we're looking at to get mobile hotspots so that they, and this is not new, but just so that our kids have access when they're moving around. Because kids are transient, families are transient, we need to give them access. We also have built a full focus on full-time counseling supports for our students. We believe in this wholeheartedly because we understand that kids come in with a lot of different challenges, and despite access to technology, they still have things weighing on their shoulders, so we have to provide that support. I was fortunate when I was a principal at Jefferson County Public Schools. I was able to go out to the Navajo Nation, and we studied a little bit about food literacy. It was very interesting with my good friends Joe Franzen and Brent Peters, which some people I think know in here. And one of the things I'll never forget is that there was not running water in these homes, but they had cell phones. So interesting enough, kids have cell phones. They have access to technology. And I bring this up, how can we use them in a learning platform? And that's one thing we've been strategizing and working as a district in Frankfort Independent Schools, and been very successful. We're very focused, like I said, on world-class education, maximizing opportunity. We do have challenges in the district, one that I've been pushing for some time, and I'll let Representative Joe Gravis speak a little bit about this in a moment, but we have 75% of our property in Frankfort is tax exempt. The way that you get your funding formula taken care of is through taxable property and through attendance or through your average daily attendance. And the reason that's hampering us is because of our facilities, building on our facilities, providing access and opportunity, and we don't feel we should be penalized because we're in the capital city. We think we should be supported and moved, and so that's something that's a continued challenge. And some great news, we recently received a $100,000 donation to support STEM, which is awesome. And we have also, in the last, just going to do an athletic compliment here, 17 years it's been since we've been to the All-A championship in boys basketball. We beat Lexington Christian. They've won 14 out of the last 15 years. And we beat them on a last-second shot, which was pretty awesome. So I'm just very fortunate to be here and surrounded by a great team. And we value technology. We believe in it. We know the analytics are constantly changing. But for schools to have internet as one of the first states in the entire nation to do that, we appreciate your support for that. And if you look at the timeline, and I'm going to joke on Mr. Couch for just a second, but if you look, Dr. Couch, if you look at the timeline, it's very impressive between 1995, 6, 7 till now, the accomplishments the state has had. Now, I've seen that timeline, this is where I'm joking on him, about 35 times. I've seen it in every co-op multiple times, and I know his speech up and down. I could probably say it, but we're just proud to be a part of that, and we're figuring out new ways to use technology, but in a way that's focused on learning, not just social and media, and we understand that could be detrimental to kids' lives as well. So we appreciate it, and thank you for the opportunity, and I'm sure my colleagues have some things to say, but also I know Representative Joe Gravis has a few minutes before he leaves if he wants to say anything.
But before he does, I do want to say, and he probably doesn't know this, and he has a connection with Arlene and myself, which he probably doesn't know, is Arlene, who's their digital learning coach. We also coached together youth basketball and baseball for probably about a decade. And so you were kind enough, I know some of the teams we had, the Little League teams were supported and sponsored by you, so appreciate what you did for the youth in another capacity. And I know you're subbing for Representative Graham. He's having his knee looked at. I don't think it's a career-ending injury, but he's having it looked at, so appreciate you subbing in for him.
Sure, thank you. Thank you for having me, and our prayers are with Representative Graham today as he is getting his knee worked on, and he'll come back stronger than ever, I'm sure. But I just wanted to touch on some of the things that Mr. Barber talked about, and that is the fact that Frankfort is the only city in Kentucky that hosts state government, obviously, okay? And so as a result, our teachers and our schools are doing everything that they can to get as much funding as we can. You guys are doing your part, and we really need the state to do its part and help us, because there's some real disparities when you look at what the revenue sources are for other cities and counties out there. The amount of property that they're able to raise their revenue on is significantly higher than what we have here in Frankfort and Franklin County. And Dr. Barber talked about 75% of the property in Frankfort is not generating income for our schools and our kids. And a lot of that is due to the fact of the influence of state government in the community. And so I'm extremely excited and grateful for Senator Givens and his leadership in the Senate, and I can't wait to get over there and work collaboratively with him to tackle a lot of these shared concerns that we have. And one of our immediate asks of Governor Beshear and the budget staff and the A&R folks is to get a $30 million line item in the budget for technology, because we really need to invest in the tech that you guys are asking for, and that you need and that you can put to use to help our future leaders. The economy of tomorrow is sitting in your classrooms today. And so we really need to invest in those people, in those classrooms, in the tools that they need to do what they need to do. We need a bandwidth increase as part of that money. And I'm praying that the raises that Governor Beshear talked about are going to happen, and that we can codify a cost of living increase in our budget, and what we're doing for these teachers, frankly, who are getting left behind. And it's kind of inhumane in my mind what is happening to the folks that are teaching and leading and influencing and forming the future of Kentucky. And we've got to invest in them, in their professional development, in their facilities, in their classrooms, in their livelihood. We cannot take teachers for granted, period. And then also part of that is to just restore the $6 million in cuts that you've experienced since '08. And so that $30 million request can go to great use. And frankly, it's a rounding error in Medicaid for all intents and purposes. And we've got to be able to prioritize not only our teachers and our facilities, but also the tools that those folks need for tomorrow. And we all know that it's a tight budget time. And I have a lot of people that have a lot of requests and a lot of asks, and I'm sure Senator Givens does too. But when it comes time to be able to fund those asks, we need those people that are doing the asking to also voice their support for those revenue measures that can help fund those asks. And so please don't be shy about supporting your leaders in Frankfort and Franklin County when we're talking about property taxes. Please don't be shy about supporting your elected officials when it comes time to supporting revenue measures that we need in our state to be able to fund these priorities and important things that we're trying to do for the benefit of the future. So when I was at McDonald's, and thanks for doing that, we love sponsoring all those teams. I don't know if you got any hardware out of that, but
We do.
Good. It was great supporting all those teams, but we need those teams to turn around and support us when we're trying to do what we need to do to raise the revenue to give back. So thank you for the opportunity, and these folks here work tirelessly at writing grants and finding nickels and dimes anywhere they can to raise money to invest in you and your classrooms and your kids. And there's only so much grant money to go around, and they're doing everything they can to turn over every rock to find those organizations and those programs that can send money our way. But we've got to be able to support them. And so we really appreciate everything that everybody's doing to help out in the classroom and the folks that support the classroom. You know, Ray Kroc at McDonald's said that if you're not serving the customer, and I think in our case the customer are the students, you better be serving somebody that is. And so thank you guys for serving those folks.
You know, consistent with your feedback there, and I know you guys got to take off here, we ask all of our districts once a year, and they're so enthused to do this, I say that kiddingly, is to give us feedback on the top 5 things we did well in 2019, didn't do well, could have done better, what should our goals be in 2020. And while you're here, you know, both of you here, is the top thing they talked about that we did well is make it one of our additional budget requests. And that was consistent across districts. So we get that feedback from 172 districts along with their own staff, but also making it a goal of this upcoming session to get that approved. So that was one of their goals. So this is consistent with it. To your point, the cuts we've had since 2008 have been substantial and not had a cost of living increase since 1992. To do all these things, there's a part you can stop doing awesome things, and so we've reached that point. So appreciate your words of support, and with both of you. So I know you both got to take off. So thank you for appreciate you doing this morning. And that's okay if you take off now, because I'm going to go through the some other things here. So thank you, appreciate it. And Kevin, you can keep the suspenders, all right?
I will. I wonder about next meeting you have. Yeah.
I do want to spend some time going over the top 5 feedback that we've received from you all. The other part that I take a look at with the top 5 is how consistent our staff feedback is in Office of Education Technology with the feedback that we got from all school districts. There are some unique parts of the OET staff feedback because we also support K the agency. And so I want to make sure that kind of recognize that. Let me ask you, did we have something else you were going to do with the students that you wanted to do?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, at this time, I would like to recognize a few students of ours. The elementary STLP class. This year was the first year they qualified for state competition, and at this time I would like for each one to come up and recognize them at this time.
So excited.
Yeah, saw you guys there. It's awesome. Yeah. All right.
Keep coming up. Slide over this way. Yeah, there you go. We get everybody.
One thing I would like to say about this group, after doing STLP for so many years, this is the most enthusiastic group of students I have seen when it comes to the use of technology. Just very excited to be exposed to some of the new things they have this year. And I'd like to point out as well, at the regional competition, they got to the competition and got set up, and I saw this frown on their face, and their project was not working. And they looked over to their teacher and said, "We have problems, Miss Stigers." And Ms. Stigers went on to say, "It's time to go into troubleshooting mode, students." And without hesitation, the students knew what to do, and they fixed the problem. And to me, that's one of the big things what STLP is all about. Just what they demonstrated that day, and it's just a very important skill to learn troubleshooting, and I'm just very proud of these kids. So, Let's give him a hand. And I'd like to give a shout out to Ms. Stigers as well. This was her first year as STLP coach, and she just did an awesome job. Really made an impact on these students. So, thank you so much.
Congratulations, Tom.
Congratulations, guys.
Sure, project. You want to tell them what it is? You nervous? Who would like to share what it is? Go ahead.
It is that he likes to do things. The program him to do many things, like if we wanted him to go for a little bit of a walk that says flow, and then once we do it, he will go, and then yes. And if you have like wanted to go sideways, then he wants to go sideways, and other ways to improve.
Cool. That's awesome. Anybody else want to add? Did you want to say anything? Great job.
And just as they're leaving, STLP was, obviously, when we got you all's feedback across the state, that was like in 80 or 90% of the things that we've done well. You know, it's interesting, as we were briefing last week our new state board members, I was telling about STLP because they're going to have one of their board meetings that coincides, and they'll be able to attend the meeting. But one of our board members, actually, her daughter, you know, was part of it, and she chose her career path because of STLP, which I know we got one of the advocates there that was pretty strong. And of course, Dr. Lee Todd is also on our board, which he's been a big part of the entrepreneurship part of STLP for a long time. So appreciate that. Thanks for sharing that with us. The other part, I do want to share some of Frankfort's feedback that we got. And this is in no particular order. The things we did well, of course, stress the importance of KEDS funding was up there. Phil improved the DDoS mitigation response time. And I do think we did that. And you took some steps during this year to make that any better. Bob, greater awareness of cybersecurity. And we spent a lot of time and energy, and there was a lot of themes around cybersecurity, things that have done well, but also to keep on the radar screen for 2020. I'd like what you said here, Jonathan, about implementation of the four parts of I guess the leadership. Instead of having them kind of silos, having them, the pillars, kind of intertwined because they do relate to each other, which I thought was a good comment there. Implementation of the Kentucky Digital Leadership CIO Academy for new CIOs. And I saw that theme throughout. I know across the state we're having a changeover in the folks in the district level. We've had those folks for a long time, and so something to help them out get a good run and go of this 25-year plus thing that we have. And so it got off the ground, but I think most people say it can be even better, is the feedback that I received. The new password policy is just not the phrasing of it, but trying to at least once a year requiring a change. But everything around the passwords was considered a positive, given the increased cyber attacks that we get. And high fives to our OET staff for the presentations they do at KISTI.
And David, I would like to add as well, over the years being in KEDS, I've always had stringent password policies. But this new password policy that's come about, I've actually had positive feedback from staff saying it's so much easier, and just really thanking us for that. So
yeah.
We don't hear that too much. But great job with that. Much appreciated.
One of the things that I'll group these together, things that didn't go well or we should have got to that can be even better. We did make progress with the virus protection, but taking the next step with the Microsoft side, with the guidance that we're giving them, and I saw that consistently across the board with the districts that we have there, preparing for alternative option for virus protection go. Infrastructure as a service, making that a big part, and I know, Chuck, you're familiar with that, of us going forward. Lightspeak works well, but we need some better reporting functionality. And I saw the relay part mentioned that we need to get that better. I know that's up on our radar screen. And doing something about the stale accounts. And account automation between a lot of services we have, Active Directory, School Information System, and Munis, and removal, creation and removal. I saw that in a very high percentage of your feedback across the state. So I found what you said was pretty consistent with what we saw in some other areas. The other things that I saw consistent across the state, and it's not consistent. There were some things that I was like, that's pretty interesting. I put it over here to the side because it's still something we have to do. Is I do see, just as we identified all of our staff there, that we had OET, just not the Stillwell Award winners, but all of our staff. The district's so appreciative of the services that we offer and the quality of staff that we have. And I say this in comparison to the other 49 pretty easily. We have the best relationship with districts than any of my peers by far in the other 49 states. It's not even close. And some of that is we've been around for a while, and so we know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two. But also the trust and also this belief that we're all in it. It's just not the districts, we're a team together, and that district can see us listening. And I definitely saw that from your responses. You listened to us, and you actually took actions based upon that, which is a big purpose of getting that feedback. You're just not giving it, but did something occur because of that? But without going to all the different teams that we had here, is just great appreciation for the staff and the quality that they provide. I mentioned STLP and increased bandwidth needs. The technology-enabled project management services was mentioned, but also the planning template, Mike, across the board. I know you saw that when you got the feedback. People appreciative of that service that was put in place, and the IT Academy and the certifications that we're doing, and all the things we're doing with the CIO Summit. The school report card, Dee, that not everyone in districts met, but that was a big win of last year. Trying to stay on top of telehealth, our computer science standards, and our technology academic standards. Getting those in place and getting ready those to provide those to the board, being a big win. The CIO Summit, and when I mention all this, we're not 100% perfect. We are far away from 100% perfect. So when you hear this, don't say, well, they got it all together. We're not. We're far from that. But we're always trying to improve with this. So when I say things went well, that doesn't mean that's 100% of 100% perfect. All these can get better. But these are the things that did go well. Overall, the CIO Summit is the only one held in the United States for EdTech leaders of every district. I don't know why the other 49 don't do it. I don't know why they don't have Webcast. I don't know why they don't have people in the field working with their districts. But we're the only state that have all three of those because customer relationships and relationships with districts is very important to us. But the CIO Summit is something we're going to obviously continue doing, and it'll be part of the KISTI event, upcoming KISTI event. Online testing is something that districts felt we did well. Now keep in mind, online testing has been occurring for a long time, decades in fact, with formative tests given daily or weekly by a teacher or interim tests like MAP and PASS. So those have been happening in high numbers. I think 300, 400, 500,000 students per year are part of those. The new part has been the summative. The summative is different because you're given it in a more compressed period of time. You got to have more devices available within a compared time. And of course, it's very high stakes. So we go from 90,000 last year to I think we're anticipating 400,000 this year to do online testing. Now some of that is we're piloting it to make sure that we can scale it high. But it does go back to one of our additional budget requests for funding to make sure it can scale that high. As we're putting that in place to make sure the devices are as modern as they can be. Senate Bill 1 was put in place, and we had a successful year making an anonymous reporting tool for text, email, and voice. We worked with the Center for School Safety and Homeland Security here in Kentucky, and that service is in place. And I think that's a needed service, and folks moved very aggressively to have that actually in place by last summertime. So a way to anonymously report what you think is a incident that school leaders should know about, because when it's reported, it goes to like 4 to 5 different positions within a school, and they can investigate, the accuracy of that, where they need to take action pretty quickly. Mike, from an E-rate point of view, this was one of the biggest, if not the biggest ever, dollars submitted for E-rate to rebates that we've ever had. Definitely up there toward the very, very top. I'm out there to just shows you the importance of E-rate funding to us. And another thing I think we did very well in last year and done for quite some time is protect E-rate funding. And we spent some time talking about the measures that we got to do to protect it. It's just not what the districts apply for, but what we apply for as well, which we anticipate bringing over the next 30 years $2 billion in buying power to the state. Keeping the KETS offers high was something I saw consistently across the board from districts. And obviously, if we get additional budget requests, we can make the offers even higher, which would be our intention to do that. The RFI and RFP that we have for the teacher licensing system is, I consider, a win. We got a good run and go of that because other states that we have good relationships with gave us their RFI and RFPs that they've already done. And we're well along the way of automating a lot of things that the Professional Standards Board, that's now part of the KDE, is going to be able to do in a much more efficient way for our teachers. And that's the goal of it, is to make a much better experience with that with teachers, not the feeling got to drive all the way to Frankfort. And there's a lot of things in that automation world that we're going to be able to do to make that a much better world. And I appreciate, Mike, you and some other folks on our OET team getting that going. As I mentioned before, Bob, cybersecurity, big item on the radar screen of folks. It's a win, but also it's a big thing that we got to work with going forward. The voice contracts approach and the printer approach, I think what I saw from most, Mike, and I saw this bluntly in your comments, is when you said this contract is really no longer needed, we really don't need a product standard at all for that, people can see that we listen to that. And so we talked about, I believe in Lewis County, the ones that we're going to stop doing, and this is the last year that we're doing them. And we're doing some new ones as well, because we're seeing, not to replace them, but of a different type of thing. But people are seeing, we're listening to what you're saying, and we are reacting to that. Now, this may be a surprise for folks, for me identifying a win, but it's a win, is esports. And esports in this way is, I think we've got it to where people are educated on what esports are and are not. It really wasn't our call whether esports are within schools or not. That's really the school's call. But it was important for people, the superintendents and principals, athletic directors, understand the good and bad, the plus and minuses of esports that they bring, which has happened. But also to make sure we've taken proper security measures for them with our networks, and make sure they're not compromised, to allow a game to play, games not being played during instructional hours, which I think has happened. The good news, you just got to keep that up on the radar screen to make sure we're taking the right protections. But at the same time, just a quick report on esports, we've had close to 1,000 students that participated. And for those, the plus and minus, so this is one of the pluses. These are 1,000 students that don't participate in anything else in the district. They're not part of extracurricular activity. They're not part of a sport. And for the very first time, they are connected to the district and being concerned about their grades and attendance. And so there's the plus and minus, that's a real plus associated with that. So it is a win to have educated folks, and that was the purpose of spending time on it, to make sure, first of all, you were educated on it, and the district, your superintendent and principals were, but also making sure we were taking proper security measures going forward. So, and I appreciate some of the other comments folks made about my view of esports. There is a Saturday Night Live skit on esports, and I'm that guy with the basketball. So if you take a look at that one, I am that guy, 1,000-year-old dad. So the things of not well or goals that we need to work on. The next phase is we really don't think there's a high percentage of your schools, your districts, your legislative leaders, your magistrates that are aware of the progress already we have in technology. And so our field staff is going to be working with you and local folks to make sure they're educated, first of all, to make sure they're aware all of our schools are connected. And a variety of other things that are having other negative implications because they don't know that already exists. And so that's definitely a to-do to get in place for the upcoming year. More help on managing Office 365, Chuck. I did see that. Is they want to understand that a little bit better. I did see this one about the Google password reset every 6 months. They've tried to find a simple way to do that. We're spending time on the Microsoft side what can we do on the Google side to help out with that. A lot of folks, Dee Dee, like the Office 365 IC integration. I saw that consistently across the board. Also, what you'll see is the Wi-Fi, making sure we do a good health check within the school districts. As we have large-scale online testing coming up, obviously they know the difference between an interim test and a formative is they can spread it out. So making sure you have good health internally of your Wi-Fi networks and being part of the health checks, and we're working with our vendor partners to try to, for those districts interested, and we've already done that with 2 districts, is to have someone come down and give them a health check and identify the areas where they can get better internally. Network component RFP, we do have another one coming up in 2021. Is that correct, Mike?
That's correct.
So folks were talking about, they appreciate the services they have. As we know, when we originally did that bid, is that there's something about that industry that just eats each other up. They either go completely out of business or they consolidate, and we reached that point with that one, so there'll be a new bid here in 2021.
The current contract expires in early 2021, so it
Yeah.
will begin actually this calendar year.
Yeah, the work of it, the replacement. So those that gave us the feedback, they would like, more choices on there, even though they're appreciative of the services we have there. You'll see us moving forward with that. Teams and Zoom and Hangout and the Microsoft Suite and the Google Suite doing a better job of educating folks, the pluses of that, including the Department of Education, is making sure they're aware of what those are and what those aren't. You're going to see us do a better job this year, and I know, Mike, you're already along the way, of the KETS master plan, the areas of emphasis and areas of acceleration. Make sure we have specific things that we are tracking to make sure we're making progress in that. So as a part of the packet that for our webcast today, I sent those to you. It's in our condensed master plan. So please take a look. If you want to understand where we're going as well, take a look at those we call areas of emphasis and areas of acceleration. I think there's 37 of them. Does that sound right, Marty? If you combine the two?
37.
And so what we're doing is we're going to be taking a look at those, every time we meet, is how well we are progressing along each one of those. And so when folks are saying where you're going, that's a pretty good indication of where we're
We've
where
got
we're
a
going.
focused effort on crosswalking all of the activities going on in K through 12, obviously at the state level as well as within the districts with the areas of emphasis. That's a focused effort that we've got, so we'll be able to illustrate and share that with folks, which is what you're talking about, David.
Us taking and implementing the Leadership for Library Media got positives, and I think that's positive with us doing that. We lead the nation with Girls Who Code clubs. That's a pretty cool thing, and do that even better. Our digital learning coach mentoring, I know Laura Raganos has spent some time doing that, and you can see the appreciation of her time of folks in those kind of roles. Our internet services, not 100% of 100% perfect, but we've had pretty outstanding uptime throughout the course of the year. When you get 99.99 or very close to that, that's pretty good. But it did take it going out one day for us to finally get it in the Courier Journal that we have all of our schools connected. But as I've said before, I would have unplugged it 10 or 15 years ago if that's what it would take to get it in. So maybe I need to unplug it once a year for folks to get, and we'll give you a heads up when I'm getting ready to unplug it. So it finally makes the news that we have all of our schools connected with very high quality fiber services. So appreciate that. Just looked. I thought we had a good data services team and data governance. That got a lot of positive feedback, and I know internally the work that we've done, the strides we've made. Data visualization, and replace. What did we replace with that in some districts?
Swiss.
Swiss. Yeah. So
They're
that's-
actually using it instead of having to purchase Swiss.
Yeah. Firewall upgrade, Phil, got some positives that we did during the course of the year. The changes to the commodity codes, and this was I didn't expect this, but this was great. Compliments on our master plan and its connection to the Future Ready and how on target it was, what we had done as people take a look at it. So that's why I want you to take a look at the master plan I sent you. It is truly pretty good. And folks are now taking a look at what we've identified are pretty impressed with the types of things that they're seeing on there. Progress toward multi-factor authentication was also one of the things that I saw commonly as a plus side. Our OET website and this is a lot of my fault, is we need to get better at that one. I got that both criticism internally and externally, so we got to up our game with that and make sure I do that during the course of the year. Our SHI contract, had some complaints about that one. To make that one much better, that was not a good experience for certain districts, so we got to make that one better, that we're putting in place. Mentioned about the virus protection coming up with it. Oh yeah, I saw this is getting much more serious about a backup for their internet connection. So in case they're out for X amount of time, we really have a solution there. And while it happens incredibly rarely, we do have to have something in place there, given all the emphasis on, like I said, it only took the internet being down for an hour across the state for the Courier-Journal. Like I said, I've been trying for 25 years to get the Courier-Journal and the Lexington Herald put one sentence that we have all of our schools connected. And it took 1 hour of them being down to finally get that done. So we recognize the importance of that and making sure we're doing something about putting that in place. The Kentucky Library Standards is something for a goal, Marty, that was mentioned. Single sign-on, taking that, keep it going along and keeping the progress with that. The DMZ and the Advent, I'm going to send that. What's that? Avocent, yeah, Avocent replacement. Making sure we're making better progress with that. We wanted to be done last year and it got delayed. SAML to Infinite Campus, the KD data tool awareness, and I think that's the big ones that I have in place.
I think interoperability overall was a theme.
Interoperability was.
And goal for us on a lot of different things.
It was.
And I don't think we can stop the high fives. We can say high fives enough to the KEs. Each of their regions, I think repeatedly we've heard how much they appreciate the KEs out there, as well as the digital learning teams.
Yeah. Digital learning teams definitely is getting a lot of high fives, and obviously that's appreciate all the folks that are part of that that are making a difference. So we have some of our leadership. Was there anything that stood out to you that's worth mentioning that I didn't mention? Is something that went well or didn't go well that we need to improve on in the following year?
As far as the data stuff, we don't get a lot of mentions, but we heard you loud and clear that we need to continue doing the civil rights data collection. That's something that we do in Kentucky. That's not every state does get involved in it, but the value add for the state being able to do it one time versus districts having to go and enter all that data individually over and over again, it's very helpful. So we did hear you loud and clear, and this is not a CRDC year, but it'll be here before we know it.
Yeah. Anyone else? I mean, we got you sitting down there. Was there anything that we missed?
David, you did mention making it easier to log in with Infinite Campus and the SAML integration. You do have a Go Soapbox question.
Okay.
That you may want to apply.
All right, let's see the results of that.
So over 30% of folks have already done it or are planning to integrate in the next couple weeks.
That's great, because we really weren't sure. Kind of the way we were looking at this is that, we'd ask everybody to make sure they did it by June 30th, and we know we got a lot of great folks out there doing, moving forward with that, but it really helps us to have a feel for when everybody's doing it. We'd like to start actually capturing that information. So if you take a few minutes just in the comments and put your district name and what month you're going to go in, we can grab it from that. If not, if you can send an email out to the KD data request at education.gov email, then we can grab it from that. Otherwise, the KEs are going to kind of be reaching out to you and saying, what is your plan? Because just a reminder, the target is the end of June, and that's not that far away with everything else that's always going on.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, David, if I can add in there, I've got to give kudos to Jonathan Jones on this particular topic. Jonathan started asking me about how can I do that SAML to IC integration long before it was released out to the public, and because he asked, he then got tagged to be one of our pilots. Jonathan did a great job of providing feedback to staff in our office, Martin Herbner in particular, about things he saw in the documentation that needed to be much more clear.
Right.
And so Frankfort Independent was one of the first districts that did do that SAML to IC implementation because Jonathan started asking about it.
Right. And we do, I have to say, we appreciate, I know you all sometimes say Infinite Campus is not mine, but we really appreciate the fact that the CIOs are the ones taking the lead on this work. And because they understand it, they're much more able to kind of coordinate it all. And, keep your cases system administrator up to date on what's going on so they're not lost. But I guess the work and the progress that is being made in your district is yours, and we do appreciate you.
Speaking of, Arlene, I do want to say I do appreciate you, besides just not being a long-time coach and teammate and I, but also I know you're heavily involved with STLP and digital learning. Anything stand out that what we covered today, from those in that position?
No, I will say this. I do appreciate having technology support at a higher level for many reasons. Working in a small school district, we do have significant challenges. And that kind of goes along with having offerings to our students that they wouldn't normally necessarily have. They are very limited at times because we are a small district. So without having the access to the technology, what I've been able to do at the high school and even some here at the elementary is take their education beyond the four walls. And without having access to that technology, I can't do that because there's only a handful of people who are or can and are willing and able to actually introduce our kids to that type of work. So with having access to outside resources, it's really helped us significantly with what we do.
Thank you. Any other comments? I know we had to go soapbox. If we get anything back, we'd like to, at some part, if you all have, and this is just kind of introductory, if you have some good news, if we have an OET team huddle for our staff, at the beginning of it, we kind of talk about good, interesting, cool news, and if you have that, we can announce that at the beginning of the webcast. And it doesn't have to be just the home district, it can be the other districts as well. And I know we have about 30 or 40 districts that don't attend Infinite Campus opportunities. And just trying to understand the barriers, because that is such an incredible thing. Just so you know, my peer in Georgia does have something similar. And we're trying to understand is why is a higher percentage attending that in his state than we have here in Kentucky, but it's just awesome for those that participate. And I don't know if we got any feedback on that or not.
We can't see it up here.
Okay.
So
Okay.
have you all seen it? Can you all see whether we've got any feedback on that?
Okay. But if you do, we'll go over it. We'll look at what you say, but give us some feedback on that. I do want to say, Justin, thank you for being the host district today, and thanks for letting us hijack it for just a little bit for a little special thing to surprise these really awesome people on my team, along with some other folks that we have that are watching, and do appreciate it. So I'll give you the final comments.
We just, one of the most important things is how to navigate technology, both from the complexity of implementation to security to the desks of our students to communication out to our families. And so I think your department and your leadership has allowed our school district of a small size, to be able to navigate those waters in a much more efficient, effective way. And I think, to those districts that aren't taking advantage of that, I encourage you to get involved. And we're very fortunate too, because I have two great leaders in the field who have taken on themselves to really push. So I just wanted to say, it doesn't go unnoticed. When things don't go off with the hitch, that's when things get noticed, just like the Perry Journal got. And I think when things are moving smoothly, which is what behind the scenes work is happening, it's pretty impressive that there's very few hitches that happen. Even in a school district our size, we have kids on computers throughout the day nonstop, and all it takes is one small little thing that happens where everybody's like, "What happened?" And that very rarely happens, and as a result of your all's work. So I just appreciate it. It's an honor to work with you all, and I just can't wait to see where this world goes with technology. As long as it's about teaching and learning, I'm good with it, and advancing that. Social media, I know it's a part of it. I struggle a little bit, but that's a whole nother topic.
Once again, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next month. Take care.